Subscribe to the channel now and get new stories every day. Let's get started. My name is Logan Reed, and for the last 4 months, my wife, Rachel, has been working on a high stakes project that could make or break her employer, Anderson Group. She's 32, holds a bachelor's degree from Hinesworth College and an MBA from Riverside, and she's easily the smartest person in our family. I'm an auto mechanic, a career I started right after high school. For 21 years, I've been working with cars, supporting Rachel through her education and helping raise our 2 kids. Rachel and I married at 18, and she got pregnant just 3 months into our marriage. We lived with my parents back then, which was a blessing because 4 of my siblings had already moved out, leaving plenty of space and built-in childcare. It took Rachel 6 years to finish her 4-year degree balancing motherhood and classes, but she did it. I worked overtime whenever possible, trying to keep us afloat. Eventually, Rachel got an offer from Anderson Group, a decent salary plus growth opportunities. She's driven and hardworking, always pushing for the next big accomplishment. This upcoming presentation at the Reason Hotel in Philadelphia is critical. If it goes poorly, Anderson Group might collapse and more than 200 employees could be out of a job. She left for the conference on a Wednesday, double-checking that she had everything from specialized materials to her fancy business outfits. Normally, she's relaxed about household details, but when it's about work, she's meticulous. She even packed some particularly elegant underwear, which at first I tried not to read into. While she was showering, I offered to help organize her items. In doing so, I shifted one of her makeup bags. A small white envelope slipped out. It came from a drugstore I knew we didn't typically visit. Inside were 10 pills with vague instructions. Take one pill, and if necessary. Another 12 hours later, the prescription was in her name, but it was nothing I recognized. I returned it to its place, my heart thudding with worry. That night, after Rachel fell asleep, I typed the name of the pill into an online search. My blood ran cold at the result. It was the morning after pill, but I'd had a vasectomy 10 years ago. What possible reason would she have for these pills? I tried to act normal at breakfast, though I could barely look at her. She insisted it was just a few days out of town, that I should relax, that she'd be at the hotel the whole time. I didn't dare ask her about the pills. I was scared of what she might say. She kissed me goodbye, loaded her final bags into her Volvo, and drove off for Philadelphia. I spent the morning in a daze, half convinced I was imagining things, but the conversation from months ago drifted into my mind. Some joking friend of ours had quipped that a bright, beautiful woman like Rachel might want more excitement than a small-town mechanic. I'd laughed it off then. Now, it didn't feel so funny. Late Wednesday, I decided I had to see for myself what she was really up to. I texted her to say I missed her. She texted back that it was all business, no time for fun, and she'd call me in the morning. Fine. I drove to the Reason Hotel that night, parked in their garage, and tried to blend in. The lobby bustled with out-of-towners, but I recognized a few faces from Rachel's office, people I'd seen at holiday parties or company events. I scanned for her, but saw no sign of Rachel among them. Perhaps she'd gone to bed early. I half hoped that was the case, that I'd find her in her room alone, flipping through notes. But after an hour, I saw her. She wasn't in a conference room. She wasn't heading to the elevator. She was seated in a corner of the hotel's upscale restaurant with a man I'd never seen before. They were chatting intimately, leaning in close. She wore that new, sleek gray suit from the day before, looking every inch the corporate professional. Yet her posture and expression seemed more personal than professional. I'd ordered a small meal, keeping my distance. I was in partial disbelief. Was she just discussing business with a client? Possibly. But the way his hand occasionally brushed her wrist, the way she laughed at something he whispered, felt off. After a while, they got up and headed out, walking side by side, too familiar for a mere business meeting. I followed, my stomach twisting. They took the elevator, and I watched the numbers climb to the 12th floor. I waited in the lobby, heart pounding. When the elevator eventually returned empty, I bit my lip, torn between heading home or confronting them. In the end, I sat in a lobby armchair until midnight, my mind reeling. She never came down. Finally, I drove home, telling myself I'd find a better opportunity to confirm my suspicions. She texted me the next morning as though everything was fine. "Big day today. Love you," she wrote. My responses were curt. She didn't seem to notice. Thursday evening, her big presentation day arrived. I told myself I'd do one final check. So I went back to the hotel, this time wearing something nicer so I wouldn't stand out. If she was just entertaining a client, I'd see no reason to keep it secret. If something more was happening, well, I wanted proof. At around 9 p.m., the conference seemed to be wrapping up. People milled about the corridors, congratulating each other or heading to the bar. Then I glimpsed her again. She was standing with that same man, quietly slipping away from the main crowd. They disappeared around a corner. I followed far enough behind not to be detected. They stepped into a smaller side hallway that led to private meeting rooms. He opened a door, and she walked in first. The door closed behind them. My chest tightened in anger and sadness. Was I going to barge in? Did I want to see what might be happening? Stealing my nerves, I approached. I heard muffled voices, then a low laugh, Rachel's laugh. I couldn't take it. I twisted the handle and shoved the door open. Inside, the man was leaning toward her, hands on the table near her waist, while she stood there wide-eyed. Her face paled when she saw me. "Logan," she gasped. The man spun around. He was older than me by a decade, maybe well-dressed, hair graying at the temples. "Who the hell?" he began. I stepped forward, rage boiling. "Who am I?" On her husband. Rachel raised her hands. "Logan, calm down. This isn't what it looks like." I scoffed. "Really? Because it looks like you snuck off with some guy right after your big presentation." The man cleared his throat, trying to maintain composure. "We were just discussing some post-conference business." My eyes flicked to Rachel. "Just business, huh? Then explain the hush-hush location, the fact that you're both alone. And maybe you can also explain those morning after pills I found." Rachel's face went ashen, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "Logan, please, I only have them for emergencies. Nothing happened." "It doesn't look like nothing," I snapped. She tried to approach me, but I stepped back. Then I warned, my heart pounding. "You lied to me. You told me you'd be swamped. Meanwhile, you're here with him." The man raised a placating hand. "Hey, let's not jump to conclusions. Ms. Reed is a talented project lead, and we're exploring future opportunities." "Spare me," I snarled. I glared at Rachel. "Is he the reason you wanted that morning after pill? Because I had a vasectomy 10 years ago." Tears filled her eyes. "Logan, that's not. I never used them, I swear." I shook my head. "I'm done. If you can't even come clean now, I'm out." With that, I turned and stormed out of the room. She called my name, but I kept going, rage and heartbreak tearing me apart inside. I spent that night driving. No destination in mind, just the hum of the engine and my thoughts. By morning, I decided to empty our joint accounts and pack my things. Our kids, Jake in the Navy and Emma, newly married in Dallas, were grown, so there was no reason to stay. Rachel got home Friday evening frantic. She found the house half empty, my clothes gone. "Logan, we need to talk," she pleaded. I looked at her, exhaustion in my eyes. "Why?" "So you can spin more stories about just business. I saw enough." She sobbed. "Nothing happened. I only have those pills in case. I know how it looks, but I haven't cheated physically." "Cheating isn't just sex," I replied coldly. "The betrayal is in the lies, in the sneaking around. And I'm not waiting for you to cross the final line. I'm filing for divorce." Her tears spilled. "Logan, I can't lose you. I love you." I grabbed the last of my boxes. "Then you shouldn't have hidden things. You shouldn't have made me wonder if our marriage was real." She collapsed into a chair, facing her hands, saying nothing as I walked out the door. In the weeks that followed, I set up a small apartment. For a while, I wondered if maybe I should have stayed and tried couples therapy. But every time I remembered the pills, the late-night meeting at that hotel, I felt sick. Rachel tried calling me, tried texting apologies, swearing she never slept with him. She even said I could check her phone logs if I wanted, but the damage was done. Jake and Emma each reached out, urging me not to make any rash decisions. They didn't know about the pills, only that something severe had happened between me and their mother. I told them the gist, sparing the ugly details, and insisted my mind was made up. A month later, I filed for divorce. The rumor mill in our hometown churned with speculation. Some said Rachel had an affair. Others said I was an overreactive husband. I ignored all of it. Eventually, the final hearing came. We parted ways without a fight. She let me take certain assets, and I let her keep the house. She ended up transferring to a different firm in another state, from what Emma told me. As for me, I took a break from mechanics, found a quiet job near a lake where I fished on weekends. I reconnected with old friends, tried dating once or twice. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but it dulled. You might ask, Did Rachel actually cheat physically, or was it just an emotional betrayal? I'll never know, nor do I want to. The mere possibility she planned for more was enough for me to walk away. And that's my story. A painful lesson on how secrets, half truths, and suspicious pills can unravel a marriage that once seemed steady. Sometimes you don't need explicit proof of an affair to feel the sting of betrayal. And sometimes letting go is the only way to protect what's left of your heart.